Where do I begin? So we're so excited to be here today doing this archaeological excavation at this lot that was inside right in the middle of Bozeman's historic red light district. And this lot contained about 3 to 5 buildings based on the year and the time frame. And most of the buildings in this lot were related to the red light district in that they were brothels. So for most of the history of this lot, there was about 3 brothels that were in operation at any one time on this specific lot. And there was also members of the Chinese community who lived in some of the buildings as well. And so we're hoping today with the students from Montana State University that we can find artifacts that reflect that history, and we can learn more through those artifacts about the people who lived here, how they lived, what they ate, what they used, and in doing that, learn more about the people themselves.
This little glass drink, we think it's a perfume bottle. What's really special about it? Look at that cork.
Looks pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow. So,
One of the first things we found.
He's got a marble.
Is that a German one?
Well, that's a good question. Are you a knowledgeable marble?
Just barely.
This is crazy.
Irregular.
I think it's been burned, so it's crazed. It's cracked by the. It heats in a weird way.
We've got what is believed to be a top to a perfume bottle. And it's really, really well intact. It's really pretty. This is a glass topper, so this was probably attached to a pretty nice bottle of perfume. Yes, I am a senior student. I am interested primarily in bioarchaeology, but I'm happy to do whatever work I can.
what's bioarchaeology?
Bioarchaeology specializes in biological remains. I specialize in human remains. It's quite a lot of fun. It's quite a lot of fun.
The 3 sisters lived on this lot that we're excavating on. And the story of the 3 sisters, they're the Hayes sisters, Hayes, Hayes. And these 3 sisters grew up in Kentucky, and then they moved to Montana. Don't know why they came here, but they moved here in about the late 1890s, early 1900s. And they all 3 worked in Bozeman's red light district. So they all 3 worked in different houses in this area. So the youngest, Hattie, worked in a house that was on this lot, kind of in the back area. Her sister, Maddie, eventually lived and worked in a house that was kind of in the middle of the lot here. And then their 3rd sister, Libby, worked in a brothel that's still standing, which is right over here, this white building. And that was a house of prostitution built in 1891. And Libby worked in that building for most of her career here in Bozeman. But in 1912, she got enough money to purchase 2 of the lots that we are digging in currently. And so she purchased those in 1912 and moved into one of these buildings on this lot. And she lived there the last year of her life. She ended up passing away in 1913. And she died at the ripe old age of 34 years old from uterine cancer. So a very, premature death. And so when she died, then her sister Maddie took over the ownership of that building, which that building was a brothel. And so, and there was 2 brothels kind of on that location. So I don't know, she might have took over ownership of both of those. And Maddie ran those 2 buildings until the end of the red light district in about 1918. And then the district was shut down. So Maddie left Bozeman and she went to Casper, Wyoming, and she lived there till her death. And, much later, she lived into her 90s and died in Casper, Wyoming. Hattie, the 3rd sister, lived in a building and managed a brothel that was kind of at the end of the lot. But she also died young. She died at 29 years old in 1908. It was a tough life for these women, and they didn't live long because of it, because there was a lot of violence in this district. There was a lot of abuse of drugs and alcohol. So, you know, that hard life kind of caught up with many of these women, and they died early.
You know, one of the joys of what we're doing here is we're working with students from Montana State University's ANTY 215. It's the Human Prehistory class. Prior to the renumbering of the courses, this would have been Anthropology ANTH 201. The ANTH 201 classes have been conducting these field practicums, just like the ANTY 215 classes, going all the way back to my friend and mentor Les Davis's time, at least into the 1970s, possibly even earlier into the 1960s. And to my knowledge, it's one of the very few opportunities for undergraduates who are doing actual just regular coursework to get a chance to come out as part of that coursework and conduct an excavation.
Yeah, I was doing it and then I was like, this is...
I think you get really focused in on what's in. It's very easy to do that. This happens to all of us. But just remember also the things we haven't talked about yet is you want to keep your walls pretty straight because now we're actually going to be going down and they tend to bathtub in. As we are getting down, you want to make sure they're straight here because we want to keep it even and we want to have really nice profiles at the end. So focus on that. You'll get to these, but leave them for now. Okay, we'll get down to it. I did draw in those. We might sketch in those before we take them out, right? And remember, 10 centimeters, it doesn't sound like much, but it actually takes a while to get all the way down. For years, since Extreme History moved into this historic brothel here as their headquarters, we've known that this parking lot area, part of which was paved over with asphalt and part of which was dirt and also covered with weeds and bushes and shrubs, we've known from historical maps, the Sanborn maps, that there were structures that were occupied by Chinese, several brothel structures on here, and that at some point in the 1900s, some of these structures were knocked down, some was turned into residence, and then eventually it must have all been leveled down and turned into a parking lot. And what we think we're finding here is, luckily enough, having done a remote sensing technique, ground penetrating radar, we saw where some anomalies were. We had the owner was wonderful enough that before he'll do any planning to put in his hotel, lent us a backhoe, and we had someone strip off the asphalt and the couple of layers. There's this gigantic pile of stuff we didn't need to get out of the way, and we could go down even farther in areas where we saw from the maps and from the ground penetrating radar we thought might be of interest. And so over here, Crystal was watching while the backhoe was going on, and a lot of artifacts were coming out in several places. And so my sense is we're not going to find any intact structures. We haven't yet identified foundations of any of this building. Some of them might not have had very good deep foundations, but we are finding what appears to be sort of intact historic deposits that have been covered over and compacted. So we're having a lot of historic trash. There don't seem to be any rodent holes or organic material like roots and vines. So we think we're in trash that hasn't seen the light of day for a while. So we're finding really good trash that has some patent numbers on it of bottles that held face cream that might be able to date. We're finding all sorts of remnants of bones from animals that people would have used to consume or make soup from. We're finding a ton of different glass bottles, some very fancy, might have been perfume bottles. A lot of square nails, early nails that they would be using to build these structures, which are often datable to a certain time period. So the students are doing an amazing job and they're having a lot of fun. And every new artifact that's coming out of the ground is really giving us a little bit more of a window into the lives of the area that was occupied by Chinese, the women in the brothels, people who didn't really have a voice in history. And so we're hoping to really tell a little bit more of their story, looking at how they lived, what they left behind. So we're super excited to do this.
Well, we're finding a lot of glass, we're finding a lot of ceramics, like you can see here. We found almost, it's in 2 or 3 pieces, but when you put them together, it's almost complete. It's a little jar that says either like cream, creamery, creamer. We don't really know because the last part of the word is missing. But yeah, just a lot of exciting stuff. We've got a almost fully complete, we think, bottle. we think that it's almost fully complete because when you put a flashlight to it, you can see some condensation on the inside of it, which tells us that it's like pretty sealed and that there's something that's keeping that liquid and like moisture in there. And so that has us thinking that she's pretty full, and this is promising. We don't see any big cracks or anything, so we have high hopes. I'm in anthropology. I'm not quite sure what focus I want yet, but probably either archaeology or linguistics. But it's a very good first dig. Definitely making me excited to keep doing digs.
Some kind of a like metal fastener with a like a bolt and a nut, and this probably would have been like hollow in here, but it's full of dirt right now, and it's just kind of at the top layer near our sidewall, trying to clean out a little bit. This site, I mean, we're finding a lot of stuff we've hardly dug into it at all. So much like ceramic and glass and whatnot, and we're 8 centimeters in. I'm really interested in like the culture of how humans do and did live their lives.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Oh, your backstory yet?
Hitch where the horses are to where the wagon is, or it could be, I don't know, where the axle was.
Pretty solid piece of steel there, though, huh?
Yeah, very solid. It's oxidized, but I wouldn't be surprised if you got rid of some of the oxidation and you found really nice hunk of metal under that.
What'd you find, Emily?
It's a bottle cap, and the edges are kind of serrated.
Is there can you see anything on the top of it at all, or it's just corroded?
It's pretty corroded. There's not a visible maker's mark or anything, but it's still neat. It's the first one we found so far today.
The height of the red light district was kind of the early 1900s. So at one point throughout the whole red light district, there was 9 houses of prostitution. And so that's probably and that was in about 1910-ish. And so this area was probably very vibrant and very active all the way from the 1880s all the way till about 1918, when this red light district was shut down. And then these buildings, of course, didn't go away. The buildings were still here, and so they became more traditional boarding houses. So people would rent rooms and get food or lodging and board. Board was food, and so you would get your food and lodging in these places. So, and then all the buildings on this lot were in pretty rough shape by the 1950s, 1960s. And so they ended up, there was a big urban renewal movement in Bozeman in the 1960s. And so at that time, they tore all the buildings on this lot down because they were in pretty rough shape. And so they tore them all down and put in this, it kind of was just an empty lot. Eventually it became a parking lot. And so, really it was capped until today when we're digging back into it a little bit. So it's kind of it's kind of like we're the first ones to kind of dig down into these areas and find these artifacts, that these women who lived here, members of the Chinese community, China Alley, as it was called, was right behind us over here. So hopefully we'll find some artifacts that represent the Chinese community. So
what we found so far, we found some pieces of animal bone. This is one of them. Little tiny piece. Pretty cool. Got a little plastic button. This is nice. It's probably, to me, that's the coolest one we found so far. Yep, and then we also have a farrier's nail. It's pretty awesome. I'm a student, I'm a senior. I'm interested more in environmental archaeology, lithics, Paleo-Indian era. But yeah, this has been pretty fun. It's been great to show the new generation how we do this stuff. So
Double majoring in anthropology and paleontology with a concentration in paleoanthropology and paleontology. I'm very excited for it. This is my third dig.
We found a bunch of glass in this one, that's for sure.
Glass, primarily animal bones. Found a marble. A lot of nails.
Yes.
Old nails. A small amount of old fabric that survived.
It's mostly just sawed animal bone and glass and ceramic is what we've been finding. My aunt's an anthropologist, so I went down this route because of her, and then I chose archaeology because it's just really interesting to just like be the person finding it and like touching it. So that's kind of why I went this route.
Still in there.
Yep.
Wow. Whoa. Look at that.
Whoa. What's that around this? Is that like?
Oh.
I'm not sure what that is.
That's a syringe, perhaps.
This piece right here looks like the seal.
Exactly like if you were. That's a great guess.
Archaeology is really everywhere, and it's definitely local, and it's in this space, right? It's not, you don't have to go, oh, I'm an archaeologist, I have to go over there and do archaeology, get in the car and drive for X number of hours. Here we are within a stone's throw of Main Street. We're really hemmed in between Main Street and Mendenhall, and it's under the auspices of the landowner, as Crystal maybe said, but with his blessing, basically, that we're able to get in here and look at this aspect of Bozeman that is not very well written. But we found a skeleton key, which would be consistent with locking and unlocking a little doorway space. Yeah. So you don't know what you're going to get. The goal is to be able to try to recover again these pieces of material culture, but those bits of material culture are like mnemonics, or like a memory aid in a way, because they're interpretable by us. We can look at the manufacture dates on them. We can look at not only the manufacture dates, but where they were manufactured. Then we can sort of tie that into commerce, trade, exchange, who has access to what and from where. There's a temporality to them because we know when they're made, they're end capped.
All right.
Yay!
Wow.
Oh, can I get a picture of that?
There's dirt in there. Do you want me to dump the dirt out?
I don't know.
Just
dirt, but yeah. It has a really wide neck here. And then what does the base look like?
The base is normal.
It's very flat.
The words?
Has
I'll bring it over.
letters. And see, someone will know the way the base is attached here and then the numbers it has on it. So this is going to be something we can tell.
It's got a mark on the bottom.
Yeah, it
What's
sure does. It says like 1415, I think. It's just a number, so maybe that's then something we can trace to that kind of shaped bottle.
Can I get a picture of that, Dr. Lee?
Do you know?
I mean, it's neat. There's bubbles in the glass.
It's beautiful glass. It's super thick.
Yeah. Here we go. I don't want to be the one who's holding on to it.
I want to hold it. I want to hold it.
So that it did not turn out to be a Budweiser bottle. Oh my gosh. So happy.
Beautiful.
Well done.
Historic
Awesome. I know. Look at the whole impression right there.
I think it might have been just touching some clay.
I would very much like to see other opportunities around Bozeman occur where we can get at that fabric that is tied into the substrate, what's in the soil, right? We see the Sanborn maps and so forth, and we can read the histories and even sometimes the very intimate details that are down at the Gallatin County Historical Museum. But it's a different sort of context to actually have those pieces of material associated with it. So.